Another interesting point, I guess you could bring up, is the fact that in the days of the Middle Ages, when the church, you could say, was at her peak, she initiated all the monarchs, bestowed on them divine right. And that was the sign of legitimacy, that this was the sign they were giving the blessing from God, basically. That both the kingship and the priesthood exist in Christ. Christ bestows and offers the priesthood to men, through bishops, through the Pope, who express to be the intermediator with Christ on earth. And then also he gives the church the power of initiation for the temporal leaders on earth, and that they can dispense justice and mercy and to carry out virtue. That was the way it always had been. This notion that the church should be subordinate to the state, this notion that the church and the state are somehow separate entities, that they don't touch each other, they don't come in conflict. This is a neoliberal notion that is heretical, frankly, and is nonsensical. The two can never be separated. One must dominate the other. Either the secular world will try to impede upon the reign of Christ in the church, which is what's happening today in the neoliberal world. It is happening with the government trying to enforce or trying to permit these promiscuous behaviors, permit inherent evil like abortion, and then try to force it on religious people to accept it, try to shove it in our children's faces and in society's faces, dragging it down, doing the exact opposite of what it should be doing. The purpose of the state was to secure the common good. The church was there to bring people to heaven. The state had both the role and the sword to defend against other people and to restore internal harmony. That is why in the picture of, for example, the Leviathan, it has the scales. The scales represent the internal harmony and unity and order of the society, and the sword represents defense against other societies in case they had to go to war or something like that. So there was that twofold notion there. And the church, St. Peter, he always says two keys. He has the gold key to represent the key to the kingdom of heaven, and he has a silver key to represent the keys to the terrestrial plane, the terrestrial earth, the terrestrial realm, which is to say, he has the power to bestow legitimacy on temporal leaders. And he give them the right to reign, the right of God. And so that is why, the notion of separation of church and state has no place in my vocabulary. My favorite part, of course, is, like I said, that because Christ, everything that is transcendental is stored up in Christ, eminently contained. And so within the priesthood, of course, that's maybe formally contained. And then within the priesthood, it's eminently contained the power to bestow kingship. And so then the Pope bestows kings. He lays his hands on them, bestowing divine right. And so then you can say that that power is formally contained, therefore, in the kings, but it's eminently contained in the popes. But all of it is eminently contained in Christ. Everything higher, everything that it would have authority or power. And so, like I said, again, that is probably the most important thing I can get out of this whole conversation there. This is tonight, I think, for this conversation, that separation of church and state is a misnomer. It is a materialist fantasy. It cannot exist. Either the world is against Christ or the world is subject to Christ. All right.